Today's readings give us two sides of the same coin. Normally, a reading from Revelation is something to make a speaker like me wince. A great vision, apocalyptic prophecy referring to the end of the world, or is it about the Roman Empire? Is it still in the future? Is it in the past? Has it happened? Is it symbolism? Fortunately, that will have to be left for another day, and I'm happy to tell you for another speaker. Today's extract from Revelation was a description of the indescribable, a picture of something that's beyond comprehension, beyond depiction. I always think that trying to explain heaven is a bit like trying to explain something like making coffee to a fish. Just as the paraphernalia of making and drinking coffee are incomprehensible in the cold, watery world of a fish, so is heaven beyond our imagining. It's another dimension. But it doesn't stop people trying. We've got this very familiar example in church. A picture of heaven. I've always liked the teams of red and blue angels. It seems to have been very prescient of the artist. So instead of thinking about heaven, it's time for a coffee break. Now, where I can, I try and keep the talks in church and on Zoom the same. But I'm afraid the Zoomers, people watching on YouTube, will have to imagine this bit, because we're going to have a little poll in church. And we're going to ask people what kind of coffee they prefer: latte, cappuccino, flat white, so on. We'll also be finding out if there are any reprobates who prefer tea. And since the vicar won't be there, we may have one fewer vote than normal. And I'm also going to be asking how many cups are drunk each day. But we're going to hold that thought for now and come back to coffee later. In the second reading, the fishermen, the disciples, are out on the lake. Jesus is with them, and the other disciples with them too. It's probably safe to assume that the fishermen are driving, if that's what you do when you're in a boat. But they aren't fishing, they're panicking. And in their panic, they call out to Jesus. And you know the rest of the story. I've been up and down the country this year, and everywhere I've been, I've seen the impact of Storm Harlan, mainly in fallen trees, but also in damage to property. And as I write this, Storm Eunice is on the horizon, literally. Storms are dangerous things, and the fear of the people in the boat was surely justified. And Jesus said, "Where is your faith?" All around us there are storms, not just Eunice, not even just the pandemic, but the crisis in Ukraine could escalate at any moment. That would surely affect the whole of Europe. Even without that, the increase in cost of living is a storm threatening the security of millions of people. Many of us will be experiencing storms of our own as we face sickness or bereavement, as we see children and grandchildren under pressure, struggling to cope. You can fill in the blanks for yourself. And Jesus says to us what he said that night in the boat: "Where is your faith?" We all have faith all the time. Just walking into church or even into our own homes is an expression of faith. It's an expression of faith in the design, construction, and maintenance of the building. We have faith it won't collapse around our heads. And even that happens occasionally. This is a picture from last week of a pub in London. In a nation like ours, which is still one of the richest in the world, where most people, most of the time, can live quite comfortably, it seems to me that most people, most of the time, mostly have faith in themselves. Faith that they can stand alone. Faith that income won't dry up. Faith that the power won't go off or the house collapse. Faith that life will carry on and that our children will have a better life than we do. But when the storms come, we may not be able to stand alone like that. Instead, we may be like the people in the boat, calling out for help. So, where is your faith? Rest assured, it's a question I ask myself often. I'm not pretending that I don't spend a fair chunk of time believing and behaving as if I can stand alone. Now, one of the things that most of us have that those disciples didn't have is a bank account. Let's even have credit cards. And a bank or credit card statement reveals a lot about us. That's why we tend to keep them to ourselves. This is one of ours. See that I've just missed off the vital bits. Never mind. One of the things that a statement tells you is what your priorities are, because how you spend your money is a sure sign of where your priorities are. And if Jesus were to say to you face to face, where is your faith? Your bank statement provides part of the answer. So what about it? What would your bank statement or mine reveal about where our faith is and what priority we give to our faith in God? Does our faith show up in the way we behave? Does it show up in the way we spend money? Nicholas spoke last week about the finances of All Hallows, and that's what set me thinking about this today. I'm not part of the finance team. I don't have any expectation or suggestion as to what, if anything, anyone should give to support the work and the mission here at All Hallows. But I would like to suggest a little exercise for everyone here, and that is to work out how many cups of coffee your and my weekly giving would buy. Not just our giving to All Hallows, but any giving that's given us an expression of faith. If a cup of coffee costs £2.50, how many cups of coffee would your giving buy? Maybe you'll be happy with the answer. Maybe you'll think that the hope we have through faith in Christ deserves a little more. Or maybe you'll wonder if you should be taking time and opportunity to grow in faith. Whatever you conclude, we're nearing Lent, and there will be a course in church and on Zoom that will help us do that. Take the opportunity to grow in faith. So watch out for the details. Jesus said, where is your faith? And he, the Lord, calmed the storm because he was Lord of storms. We won't have a storm-free life, but when we have faith in him, we have faith in one who is able to guide us through storms. We have faith in the Lord of heaven. As I said at the start, these two readings, the throne of heaven in Revelation, calming the stormy sea in the gospel, are two sides of the same coin. Together, they remind us that Jesus is Lord. One final thing. This week, whenever you sit down to a cup of coffee or tea if you prefer, why not take a moment to pray something like this? Lord, thank you that you're able to guide me through the storms of life. My faith is in you.